Everybody bees in the pool. Everybody bees in the pool. Poolnews.com.
Alright folks, last time we were at the video I just did the assembly of the pool vacuum. Now it's time for the installation. It's no longer raining here in Florida and I finally got a good decent day here to do the installation. So first and foremost, reading through the manual, it lacks, for lack of a better word, it sucks. I was actually able to find the more expensive version of this pool vacuum, the Pentair Creepy Crawly PDF instruction manual. Believe it or not, the actual, even the pictures were some of the same. So someone was plagiarizing on those things, but the Creepy Crawly PDF actually explains a little bit more because there are basically two preferred installations of this pool vacuum. However, the instruction manual only talks about the one, and that's through the skimmer. My pool actually has a vacuum port. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through both installations. First one I'll talk about is the one I'm actually not going to do, but I'll talk about if you were to do it, how you would go about it. And that's going to be the skimmer installation, or installation through the skimmer. And then the second part is I will hook mine up and we'll get it up and going and configured. And that's as if I'm going to go through the actual vacuum port. So first of all, let's go over to the skimmer. Let's go over my skimmer, and I'll show you the tools that you're going to need in order to get it hooked up, and I'll walk you through how you would actually get that process going. Alright, so for those of you who will be installing this pool vacuum through the skimmer, remember I talked about that saving the very end of your hose, the female to female end. Now that's going to hold true now. Actually, when we get to my vacuum port, I actually will not need this one. I will actually need a male end at the end. But for you skimmers, so what you would actually do is you would take this end. This other end would go all the way connected to the other hose hooked up to the vacuum. You're actually going to run it through the line underneath through the skimmer, through the door. Now, you're going to take your skimmer basket out. None of there is going to be the actual hole where the actual water actually gets filtered and drained through. Now, in that hole, that's where you would take this cone here and you would shove it in that hole. So now, and through that hole, you've got this little regulator valve. On there's going to be an arrow pointing down. It just goes, that's going to be the down. So this little regulator valve will go here, which this would be in the hole. In turn, this female end would go on the regulator valve. Obviously, oh hell, you get the point. So, if you're in a skimmer, be a lot stronger than I am, and actually get the male end or the female end on the regular valve, which goes to this, and that is how you would do it. Now, obviously, when you want to hook this up, you're going to want the pumps turned off before you, and then we're going to get everything adjusted, which we'll show that when we get to the vacuum port. All right, at this point, I'm going to go and actually install this for real with my actual pool configuration. So I'm going to shut the I'm going to shut the pump off, and then we'll pick up from there. All right, so this little part here I have not discussed. Now, once you have your pool vacuum up and running, they talk about your return ports or your return port. Now, they only give you one of these because they assume your pool was made in the 1960s where it only has one return port. I actually have at least 3 jets going back into my pool where the water comes back in. So I would need a few more if I'm going to use these. Basically, the premise of this is the fact that these return ports is blowing water. When the vacuum starts getting close to the edge of the pool, those jets may actually push the vacuum away, and therefore you won't be able to vacuum certain corners of your pool. So if you use this, this will actually pull the jets or the water upwards, or however you want to configure downwards, and therefore your actual pool vacuum itself can get closer to these edges. So what you would do is you would actually just unscrew some of the current connectors there on your return port and put this back in. So like I said, if I was to use this, I would have to buy a couple more and make sure all my jets were like that. As of right now, I have no plans to install this, but that's what this would be used for if you were to do that. Alright, so I've shut off my pump. Before we begin installing the vacuum port, I did just want to touch on some of the connections. So the instructions, manuals on both the Creepy Crawly and this model talk about shutting off your main drains. What that means is you typically got pipes coming in through the drain basket here. Most people are at least going to have 2. That's going to be a line for your main drains. Those are the little drains at the bottom of the pool. And a line through your skimmer where that water gets sucked through. Like I said, mine also comes with an additional line, which is the vacuum port. So if I were to shut off the main drains, I would just pick this to the off position, and that would cut any flow. I'm actually going to leave the main drains open in this case, Right now my vacuum port's still going to be shut off, so when I turn it on we shouldn't see any suction until I start opening this thing up, and we'll get it adjusted accordingly to where that vacuum's sucking good and moving along the bottom of the pool. I just really want to touch base before I get going that it does say before you turn the pumps back on, make sure you get your main drain shut off, but I don't want to follow any rules. Go, your main event. So first thing we're going to do is we actually need to submerge everything. Now, if we have this weighted properly, weighted being the little yellow thing, little yellow weight that we slide up and down here, this thing should lay at a 45-degree angle when sucking. So when we turn it on, we may have to make some adjustments. If it's laying too upright, we need to adjust this weight. If it's laying too flat, we need to adjust the weights. But just know that first and foremost, we're going to get everything submerged. I've also measured out my hose here such that it measures from my vacuum port or your skimmer place, however you're going to do the installation, to the furthest point of your pool. So we'll get everything submerged here. The reason you want to get it submerged is so you can kind of cut out any air from the line. Now, this vacuum port here, these vacuum ports are actually, most of them come equipped with what's called this vac lock. This vac lock is just a safety mechanism here that when you try to open it up and you let it go, it's going to come back shut again. Now, I've got some water pressure on here. It's probably not going to be easy for me to open up. I may actually have to get a screwdriver here or something to pry it open. But just know when I get it open, really we're just going to shove this in here. Now they have a 45-degree angle, connector angle, that's sold separately. I'll put a link on that to that if you want to purchase it. It's not included in any kit, but just know that that is an option here. So I'm looking at my vacuum here, just kind of resting in the pool underwater, and this looks like it's pretty good on a 45-degree angle right now. So at this point, I really just need to get access to this vac lock, be able to pull up the lid. Hopefully that'll be. All right, so I got the vacuum lock. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the vacuum lock, pull the thing open, and hopefully this thing will slide right in. And I'm gonna use a little bit of force. Make sure we get a good solid connection here. All right, so I've actually got the pumps are running. The main drains are still open. The skimmer line's still open. Everything's open right now except for the vacuum ports. We're not seeing any suction yet. So you kind of see the actual pool head is actually, or the vacuum head is actually still kind of levitating above the ground. So now at this point, I'm actually going to start opening up the line for the vacuum, and hopefully you can start seeing some suction. You can see we got some good suction now, and the pool vacuum's actually starting to move pretty good, pretty fast. I may actually decrease the opening on that pool line and slow things down a little bit. But believe it or not, I did shut the main drains off, so people who write these instruction manuals actually are good for something. So you hear be quiet here for a second. You might be able to hear the suction noise kind of coming along the bottom. But the pool's actually this vacuum's actually moving across the bottom of the pool at a pretty good rate. So the vacuum itself looks to be good, 45-degree angle. And so just like that, I actually now have a pool vacuum. So that's awesome. No more manual doing this. Now, that concludes the second part of my of the product review on this, of just the assembly and the installation. Now I'm going to put this thing through the ringer. So the next time you see me, I'm actually going to purposely be dirty in my pool so I can actually run this thing for 24 hours and see what it all picks up. So it better work, because I really don't want to ever have to vacuum ever again. So, all right, thanks for watching, Pool Noobs.